What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy with Trading Decoded. It is November 6th, 2024, and it's 3:57 in the afternoon. The market is not closed, but it will be in the next 3 minutes. And today was interesting, to say the least. Market opened up at all-time highs and continued to make all-time highs after a little bit of movement to the downside in the morning. And I'm not really sure what happened or why that happened. Must have been some kind of an event or something. But anyway, what was weird about this morning wasn't that we gapped up and that everything was green, but what happened after we opened. And this is what caused a little bit of hesitation, on top of the fact that things were very expensive, understandably. We talked about the idea of that. And I'm sorry if you guys hear the dog in the background. The lawn guys are in the backyard mowing, and he's trying to protect his house. But let's go ahead and take a look at our SPY chart and talk about what was interesting about this morning as far as price action goes. So we had our pre-market area, which I do these at 8:30 in the morning. So yes, I'm aware we dipped below this, and I know we were above it before, and it doesn't matter. Prior to 8:30, I look at the most recent levels of support and resistance, and I plot those, right? I plot those because I use those as justification to get into or stay out of trades. I'm just looking for a break of support or resistance, or do nothing, because we don't break a support or resistance. And this morning, our call scenario was, if we can get above 588.92, we'd be hoping to make it up to 589.53. Likewise, if we can get below 587.65 to the downside, we'd be looking for puts to at least this line or this line. But more importantly, we were watching the Qs to try and figure out where Qs was going to bottom out, where they were going to stop. We recognized that we had a very strong level of support on the Qs here from pre-market. So as we were breaking through these levels, we were hoping that we were going to get down to here. Once we got down to here, we let everybody know, hey, there's a very strong support here. We do hope we close below this line, because then we'd be aiming for the next one down. We never got a candle close below that line. So a lot of folks took themselves out of the trade. What trade, you might be asking? Well, let me explain to you what made today weird. Number one, normally I was ready for calls because we were putting in higher lows. This opening candle very quickly, very aggressively shot up. And then, it actually opened above the line, came back down. This was tough to get into. You couldn't get in fast enough because of how quick it moved. But not only that, it got close enough to where we would want it to go anyway, and that resistance held. More importantly, and this is what kept me out of calls when we did breach this line these few times, is that Qs were moving up, but SPY was not. And in order for me to be okay with playing puts, I don't want the Qs moving up, right? Likewise, here's what was interesting, because this is unusual. It's very unusual. It didn't look like this before. I think maybe I had it flattened too much. That could have been the case. This right here, guys, I was looking at ADD, must have been super scrunched. And to me, I'm looking at ADD. Yes, it opened at 697 or 700, but it kind of hovered here for a while. Normally when ADD is moving sideways, SPY will take the direction of the Qs if the Qs are moving. So if ADD is not doing anything up or down, there's nothing really stopping Qs from controlling SPY. ADD is typically a gauge of what small caps are doing. So it was weird because we noticed that ADD was just kind of hovering around this 650, 630, 650, 630, 40 range, not going anywhere. Qs were aggressively moving up, but SPY not so much. So I didn't feel calls because the market just wasn't moving the way that we would like to see it move in the circumstances like this. So for me, I did not take calls. There were some folks who ignored my hesitation on this because I was very clear. I told everybody I'm not getting into calls. When we crossed it, I'm not getting into puts. At the open, right around 9:35, I started to tell people, man, we're building quite the resistance here on SPY. The only reason I'm not getting in is because I'd have to be trading against the Qs in order to jump into this, and I don't want to do that. So what I did say is, let's wait for the Qs to hit a resistance. Let's wait for them to break their uptrend, and let's wait for them to close or breach a support before we justify our actions, right? I wasn't condoning puts right off the bat. In fact, I was telling everybody, everything's green, guys. You don't want to jump into puts right off the bat. If you're going to play puts, wait for a reason to do it. Otherwise, don't play anything. If you can't jump into calls or you don't like what you see, don't trade against this. The whole market was insanely green at open today, but it was behaving oddly. So we broke the trend line. Let everybody know, guys, we broke the trend line. If the Qs can get below 502.51, I'd be hoping for them to continue down to this support right here at 501.43. So basically a dollar move down on the Qs. I said if we get that on the Qs, we should bring SPY at least down to our first target, this target right here where we bounced off in the morning, earlier in the morning. So when the Qs did all that, we got in here. We're hoping to make the move down to the next line. Okay, that's it. Not a huge move. I mean, it's what, a 50-cent move from here to here? So it was going to pay. And here's the beauty. Qs blew right through that level. And I talked everybody through this. A lot of people took this trade. Guys, we closed below support. The next one down on the Qs should be right here. Okay, we get here. We struggle. We finally close below it. We make it down to the next line. We're not closing below it. We hung on to this trade. I told everybody if Qs close above $500.50, that would be a good point to stop out of this trade or prior to 10 o'clock. We don't like to hold through the 10 o'clock candles. As we got closer to 10 o'clock, 9:58, for example, I suggested everybody, if you're going to stay into puts, which I wanted to do, please tighten up your stops. If you get stopped out before 10 o'clock, you still made great profit if you got in up here. If you didn't put in a stop loss, I hope that it continues down for you, but I don't recommend holding through 10 o'clock. In fact, I tell people all the time, if you're in profit in one of these trades and 10 o'clock comes around, consider taking your profits before that time comes. You never know what 10 o'clock is going to bring. So I ended up getting stopped out of this trade at 9:59 because of this pullback. From entry, which was near the bottom of this candle, I actually got in at 9:44 because I wanted to make sure we were going to close below that support on Qs. I got in it myself at 9:44. Some people got in because Qs and SPY, lower highs, all the things, right? So either way, we're splitting hairs here. What we were hoping for is a dollar move down on the Qs, and we got that move and more. So if you played from line to line on the Qs, this would have been your exit point. If you played down to the next line on the Qs, this was your exit point. If you played down to the orange line, which was what we were really trying to hit, had an alert down there at one point, that's what this point is, okay? Now, stopped out of the trade. That was a 66.4% winner, which is way less than we would have expected that move. So for whatever reason, I think volatility was dying, kind of, during this particular situation. Contracts were a little weird. Things were expensive. Nonetheless, it was a great trade. It was a great day for a lot of people. Then we found a bottom. 10 o'clock came, shot us back up, and then we started to wedge to the upside. Okay. Now, somebody was asking me, Jimmy, when would you get into calls? When would you get into calls? I said, well, let's wait for a break of resistance, right? So we have resistance here. Wait, what was this? Do I have this in the wrong spot? 1129? I think we were looking at the Qs, waiting for the Qs to do something. Hold on. Yes, it was the Qs. I said, I wouldn't get into calls until the Qs close above 502.62. I said at this point, We're getting close. It was before we were talking about this trade before we broke this resistance on SPY. I said, guys, we're coming up to a level of resistance on SPY. Now we got above that before the Qs got above theirs. Okay, right here. If we get above this one, the next one's right here, which we hit. And we stayed there for a second. We still closed above that. Our target was a move up to this line or the Qs. If the Qs get above, a close above this level, 502.62, told everybody, that's when I would be interested in getting into calls, and I'd be hoping that we make it up to at least this point, hopefully the next one. So our target was, again, a move above resistance, hoping to make it to the next resistance. It did exactly that. By waiting for the opportunity to get into that trade, you didn't give up a whole lot of extra profit. Okay, we kind of just chopped here, but once the Qs broke free of that resistance, it turned it into support. We got our first close above that at 11.28, 29, somewhere in here, and we moved up to resistance. Okay, it kind of chopped around up here and ultimately broke out, got to the all-time high, made new all-time highs, and kind of just stayed around that line and above it going into the close. So this was a trade that was about a 50, 60 cent move, I think. Only took a few minutes to come to fruition, but it did exactly what we wanted it to do. And then I was at lunch shortly thereafter, and by the time we came back, we were trading more sideways than up or down. And I think we called it right around 3 o'clock when I had to go pick up my kids. So that was pretty much it. We found a move to the downside there. We found a move to the downside here, by the way. Again, that was coming off of lower highs on Qs and SPY. Okay, lower highs. Told everybody if Qs can get through 502.63, we're likely to head down to this support right here. As you can see, we closed below it here. It went straight down to that level. Held it as support, pulled back, held the support again, lower high, told everybody if we get through this one, we're aiming for this one. You guys could just look. It hit that one, tried to hold it. If we get through that, we're looking for this one. Okay, just look at what is likely to happen. Lower highs are bad for calls. So once you start seeing lower highs, stay away from the calls. You don't have to play puts. But if this method right here keeps you out of trades that you would have otherwise took, you might find yourself taking fewer losing trades. Okay, this is what you got to watch out for. Likewise, higher lows. If you bought a pullback in your inputs and you see this take place, you should consider getting out of the trade because higher lows are bad for puts. Likewise, we expect resistance to fail because of higher lows. This one fails. We get through it, we get to the next one. It fails, we get through it, we get to the next one, and that one holds. We pull back, once again, a higher low, and we continue up, okay? Just pay attention to these things. Also keep ADD in mind, okay? If ADD is trending up, but Qs are putting in lower highs, it's going to make the move on SPY a little bit slower, a little bit more choppy. Right? Ideally, you want ADD and Qs moving in the same direction, trending in the same direction, whatever the case is. That determines oftentimes whether I take entries aggressively or conservatively. It also determines whether I hold on to my trades through these lines that we target for profit or not. ADD is a good measure of confluence. Okay, if ADD is going in the opposite direction while you're in a trade and you come down to a level of support while you're holding puts, maybe consider taking profits at that line of support. Otherwise, move your stops down into profit, hope for the best, plan for the worst. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. Hope you got some useful information in this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to join our Discord community, we'd love to have you. And yeah, the link's down below. Completely free for the first week. If you like what you get for that week, well, consider becoming a paying member. That's pretty much it. So I hope you all had a fantastic day today. Don't have any expectations for tomorrow. Tomorrow is FOMC day, so things will be expensive, and we're probably going to get some crazy moves, especially around 2 o'clock, so be prepared for that. just protect your capital. All right. I'm going to go drink some Magasaki, and you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Till tomorrow. I love you guys. See ya.